Bosh! Hello and welcome to another episode of the Hotspur Huddle. It's been a little while, but the gang are back in business. And with me tonight, like always, on this Wednesday show, I am joined by my two fabulous guests. First of all, Wes, great to have you. How are you, my friend?
Yeah, well, if it's not Tottenham related, I'm all right. If it's Tottenham related, mate, just count me out and write me off. I think till next season. But no, good to be back. It's been a little while. I think obviously we've had loads of different commitments going on with life, etc. But no, always good to be back on a Wednesday.
Indeed, we are back live and direct. And also, Nelson is back. How are you, my friend?
I'm good. I'm feeling good. Back with the mic again. So I'm just here to show off that I've got the mic. But it is good to be back, Holly, to talk all things of football.
No, good stuff. And like I say, we have got an awful lot to talk about. Sometimes it's quite nice when we have a little break because it means we come back and we have so much to chat about. Without further ado, obviously this show is sponsored by Kofa. And whereas in true Holly fashion, she hasn't got the graphic ready as per. But let everybody know what Kofa is and where everybody can find that.
It's the same every week, Holly. Like, come on, sort it out. But no, Kofa, Kickoff Football Academy, Milton Keynes. Is my football coaching business in Dele Alli, Leah Williamson, Kevin Danso country. Just trying to help the next generation of young ballers coming through. Literally just come off the back of a session tonight. So, raced home to get in nice and quick for this. But yeah, if you have any players, then if anybody is in Milton Keynes watching and has any young budding footballers, send them our way because we would love to help them.
Lovely stuff. I like to say, Wes, make sure everybody in the chat as well that when you rewatch this, go check out Kofa. And if you are in the local area, please do get involved. But without further ado, Wes, I'll come to you first. We've got a little bit of a light-hearted conversation first because obviously against Frankfurt on Thursday, it was a bloody brilliant evening, wasn't it?
Yeah, we came, we saw, we conquered. We had some extra flavour with the German sausages. Do you know what I mean? So, it was really kind of strange in the sense that it was probably the most un-Ange like performance that we've seen. And I think even if you look back at his time at Celtic in particular, I don't think you'd really ever see an Ange team set up in that way. But I think credit to the boys for kind of getting us over the line and getting that job done. Because I think majority of Spurs fans, any sort of sane ones anyway, we're a little bit fearful. Obviously, our away record in Europe isn't great. And Frankfurt is a difficult place to go. They're doing quite well in the Bundesliga on top of that as well. So yeah, credit to the boys for showing a different side to themselves and making sure the job got done for a change.
So it was actually nice for us to actually rock up for once. As you can tell, something going past my my window as I speak. But no, it was nice to actually show up. And Nelson, obviously from an outside perspective, because I always like to get your perspective on things. What did you kind of make of Spurs in that kind of second leg?
Yeah, I think I agree with Wes in the sense that it was un-Ange like. And I think at the end of the day, you just got to get the job done. And the boys did that. And I think they could sense how important this was to the fans and how important it was that they were able to beat a very, I would say, like Wesley said, a very tough Frankfurt side. They have a really good batch of young ballers there doing well in the Bundesliga. So the fact that they were able to win in that manner, I think from an outside perspective, I was very impressed because I think, if you put the league record aside, how it's gone for you guys in the league, I think a lot of people probably pipping Frankfurt to probably win this leg and win the whole tie. So the fact that you guys have done it and got over the line and did it in a good manner, I think as well. I think you should be very impressed and proud. But I know that doesn't stop the whole conversation of whether or not he should stay, whether or not he should go. Because I saw an interesting topic about whether or not he wins the Europa League. But yeah, from an outside perspective, I think it was a great win. So yeah, on to the semi-finals.
So that kind of leads into a great segue, Nelson. I know you've done a bit of hosting on the channel before, so I like that. And that does kind of bring it in because Nelson's mentioned it, obviously, Wes, and I know that things in the league have been awful this season. And I think we've spoken about it before, and in terms that I was very much in the sense that I wanted to keep Ange, but the last maybe month or so, my kind of thoughts have slightly changed. What's your kind of outlook on terms of whether we win the Europa, if we win the Europa? Where's the kind of crossroads for you?
Oh, listen, mate, after Thursday, them lot sucked me right back in. I was just at the point where I just had enough, and then Thursday sucked me right back in again, and I've kind of felt like I had a bit of hope and belief, and then obviously, came crashing back down to earth on Monday against Forest. But, I've always maintained this, especially when I get asked this question of Ange in, Ange out, if we win Europa, does he stay, does he go? I think the biggest lesson that Spurs should be able to take from this is Manchester United with Ten Hag, because he kept his job because of the FA Cup run. Obviously, he wins the FA Cup. They back him. They give him, I think it was something ridiculous, over 200 million. I think there were some signings that he pushed for. People at the club weren't, 100% on, but they went with it because they wanted to be seen to be backing the manager. And then, come October time, he's out the door. So I think we kind of need to be a little bit careful in that we don't fall into the same trap. I think for me, it would be best for both parties to go. That's not me saying I am 100% Ange out, because I think he's quite a likable bloke, but it's just not working. It's plain and simple for everybody to see. And obviously, there's a lot of rumours coming out this week that there's going to be a lot of change, especially towards the top. And that's never a good sign. And it's almost like one of the people that championed for Ange to come in Scott Munn is reportedly leaving. So that kind of also says that a little bit like writings on the wall for him. But yeah, I think for me, he should go regardless of what happens, because it's just not worked out. The league form is, inexcusable. 18 league defeats is not good enough by any stretch of the imagination. But it's not so. I know the fact that we've lost the amount of games, but for me, it's the manner in which we've lost them. Like, we concede a goal, and there's just no. We don't look like we're going to get back in the game, at all, at any point. There's none of this. Right, lads, come on, let's get together here. Let's not make the situation and the game stay any worse. Let's kind of dig in a little bit, and stuff like that. And I think Monday was a clear example of that, because I think Forest were brilliant in spells. Like, their first sort of 15-20 minutes, Forest were brilliant Monday night. They could have been, then they probably should have been 3-0 up. I know obviously one of the goals was offside and stuff like that, but they could have been 3-0 up inside 20 minutes, Forest. And then that was kind of it. But credit to Forest in the way they defended. They set up when they had a good game plan, and I think it obviously worked. But yeah, for me, Ange has got to go for himself and for the football club to just part ways and move on. That's not me saying I want him out, but that's what I think should happen for the best of both parties here.
I think that's the thing. So obviously, I always like to kind of sort of do parallels, Nelson, and in the sense that obviously maybe like a couple of months ago we were kind of sat here saying, do we keep him, do we not? But for you, obviously, you've gone through that kind of procedure with Arteta, and he is getting you to perform at those higher levels at the top of the Premier League. What is your kind of, say, parallels? We know Ange and Arteta are different, but what's your kind of sense of, should you be, as Spurs fans, be keeping hold of Ange? Do we continue with the process, or is it pretty much you can kind of see the writings on the wall?
I think Wes hit the nail on the head. Especially as Ange as a person, he's actually a likable bloke. I actually like him. Like, him and Poch were probably the few Spurs managers that I actually really enjoyed watching as people, because
that's because they didn't dig Arsenal out every 5 minutes. That's why.
It's not even that. It's just that when they talk, you can tell that they care. And I think Ange did care. I just don't think he's executed it the way he's wanted it to happen. And I agree with Wes in the sense that for himself, I think he needs to get out of there. Now that I think of it from that perspective, he actually needs to go for himself. And that way it will benefit the football club for the future. So it is unfortunate that it's ended this way. I think Spurs fans are right to be frustrated and want him out, even if he does win in Europa League. I think if he ended up winning the Europa League, I think that would probably be the best send-off for him and the football club, because it obviously gets you guys in the Champions League, and then that way you guys could potentially reinvest with the money that's earned through the competition, and then kind of just push on from there. And then he can leave knowing that he's done the best that he has done, especially in that competition, and then leave with his head held high.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing. I think, like we've kind of alluded to tonight, probably the best for both parties. I wanted it to work. It just hasn't really fallen that kind of way of thinking. But obviously, talking about Champions League, Nelson, because sadly, on the other side of North London, you guys have been doing very, very well. And that man, Declan Rice, that I always used to take the nick out of because he's got 100 mil, actually was on the money for both of those kind of legs.
Well, yeah, whoever saw my post on Instagram, if you follow me on Instagram, I did put out there £100 million man, because this guy, in my opinion, and the thing that is annoying me is because I think people have pointed out that Messi and Ronaldo have probably ruined football because of their stats that they've been able to accumulate over the years of their playing career. Like, they are abnormal, they are aliens. No one will ever match 65 goals for one season. Um, and I think people kind of forget about watching football with your eye rather than, just focusing on goals and stats. And for me, if anyone knows and understands football, and I know Wes does, and I know you do, Holly, as well, I think everyone should know that Declan Rice is a baller. He does so much more for Arsenal than just his goals and assists. Obviously, he's now played in an advanced role under Mikel Arteta, which has allowed him to get more goals and assists. But what he brings to the side is what we've needed for a number of years. Like, he is the white Patrick Vieira. I don't care what anyone tells me, but he does everything that Patrick Vieira has done for us at Arsenal, but even better, because I think he has much more technique than Patrick did have in his heyday. So those, I think he has more technique than Patrick Vieira. I think
Bold,
it is very
That is
bold, but
bold.
the way he's come in and he's slotted right in, and I think he's now taken on the response. I think a lot of people will probably say that this is Martin Odegaard's team, and I think after that tie against Real Madrid, I think a lot of people will now be rethinking that and actually be assessing Arsenal squad and thinking, whose team is it? And Declan Rice is definitely in that conversation. Also, we know Bukayo Saka as well as the main guys, but I think Declan, at that point when he scored those 2 free kicks, he must be feeling now that he's the guy, he's that man. Like, it doesn't get any better than that, scoring 2 goals and 2 wonderful worldies. And then it's not even just that. I mentioned the goals and assists, but also the second leg. Like, if anyone watched that second leg, he was a monster. We are talking N'Golo Kante-esque, just being everywhere on the pitch, whether it was interceptions, whether it was slide tackles, whether it was carrying the ball. He did everything. And it got us the win. And now we're in the semi-finals. A lot of Arsenal fans are optimistic. I'm cautious, because obviously this is a PSG side that are much more different than the beginning of the season when we beat them 2-0. Like, their wingers have now flourished, and Dembele is having a tear of a season. But who knows, Holly? I'm very happy. Probably one of the best moments in, like, the post-Wenger era, because we've struggled, since Wenger has left. And now that you mentioned, Arteta's brought us to those high levels, I think he would look back at himself and his career and be like, wow, this could be a turning point for me as a coach, and kind of push forward from there, and definitely push Arsenal to compete as we've done as we've wanted to, since moving to the Emirates.
That's the thing, Wes, because like Nelson's kind of alluded to, both of those games, both those legs were brilliant, and the hate watch didn't really last very long for me. I don't know about you.
Do you know what? Right, you look at Real Madrid and you're like, just for once, just do Real Madrid, like Real Madrid, just do Real Madrid
Yeah,
stuff.
it's true. Yeah,
and they turned into like Tottenham, basically. Right, it was so frustrating, and it was like they're getting the ball wide and trying to put crosses in, and I'm like, who to? Because Mbappe's not an out number 9. Like, he's not the kind of back to goal striker. Like, if Real Madrid had Olivier Giroud, they'd have won that game about 6-0. Like, legit. Because Giroud is literally a penalty box centre forward. Put him in between the width of the posts and he gets goals. Probably not so much now, because obviously Giroud's 38. But do you know what I mean? Like, that profile of striker was just really lacking. And I just didn't understand what Madrid were trying to do. And it was like, Ancelotti's tried to make changes, but it didn't have any effect on the game. Like, you're putting Tchouaméni at centre half, try and win a game, mate. Put another forward on. Like, you need to win the game. Like, it was just baffling, and I'm like, what? Like you say, Holly, the hate watch was absolutely abysmal in that sense. So yeah, Real Madrid, that is like the worst I think that I've seen them in a very, very long time. And I think the inquest since that has been fairly brutal as well, because Real Madrid, it's like you've got Real Madrid, you've got Kylian Mbappe, who's come in for those big games to be the difference maker. He got absolutely pocketed by Saliba pretty much. So yeah, it was a frustrating hate watch but as a Spurs fan, and even just a fan of football. I was just really confused. And then my coaching hat came on. I was even more confused. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, just play through. Like, Arsenal's, yes, they have a solid defensive structure, but they do allow possession for the opposition. They do allow you to get in between lines, like, and they just didn't have it. Madrid. It was so strange.
And that'd be the thing, obviously, with them playing PSG, us playing Bodo Glint. It'll be an interesting kind of conversation in the next couple of weeks when we come back and sort of do this segment of the show again. I'm hoping we're on like the happy side, Wes, and Nelson can have a bit more of the sad side.
Well, the thing is, right, and I think a lot of people are forgetting this. I know that, Nelson mentioned about this PSG team being a different team to the one that Arsenal faced earlier on in the Champions League league phase. Bodo Glimt is probably the same thing with us, because I think a lot of people are forgetting we actually beat Bodo Glimt in the league phase, and we won it with our kids, basically. So there's a part of me that goes, well, if we can beat them with our kids, we should have enough to get the job done across two legs. I just think the big concern from Spurs fans, the ones that I've spoken to, etc., is that plastic pitch away at Bodo Glimt. That's not even giving me Tamworth vibes. That's giving me young boys vibes of the first ever Champions League run, and it would be typical for Spurs to be Spursy in that moment. So we have to really do like a demolition job, get the job done. And I think I look back at that game in the league phase, and it was ironically Son's best performance of the season, his only performance, you could argue, as well, because he's been terrible. I know, Nelson, that hurts you because Son's one of your favourite players. I
agree, though. I agree. He's not been good. Good.
Yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting one. And I think this PSG side, I think people have been underestimating them a lot throughout this champion. And it was only until they played Villa where people went, oh, they're actually this good. Because it was the fact they've lost Neymar, Messi, Mbappe, Thiago Silva's not there. All the Harlem Globetrotters, as I like to call them, are gone now. And they've built a team. And I mean, I looked at that midfield that PSG had against Villa. Oh my word. I'm getting told by people that technicians are going out of the game in terms of players. Mate, watch that PSG midfield. It is Fabian Ruiz, João Neves, Vitinha, three absolute technicians, and they just bossed the game. It was an unbelievable watch. And I think if any young footballers watch those three, especially in that first half at Villa Park, they were outstanding.
And that's the thing. It will be a difficult game for Arsenal, and like you say, it is Spurs, so it will be a difficult game for us against Bodo Glint. But obviously, talking about taxations in a different kind of way, we have got two promoted sides from the Championship, Nelson. So what have you made, obviously, the two coming up in Burnley and Leeds?
I'll be honest, I think Wes is more primed to talk about this than I am, just simply because I was probably aware that if any teams were going to get promoted, it would probably be Leeds and Burnley. Obviously, with the quality that they've had when they obviously got relegated and stuff, I could see a bounce back promotion happening, and it's happened now. As a football fan, I'm frustrated that it's Leeds and Burnley, and I only say it because you want to see something fresh, like the way Frank Lampard has, his job that he's been doing at Coventry City, I think has been outstanding, and him going on that winning run, and they've I'm not sure where they are. Wes, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they're creeping up in the playoff spaces, and they deserve, for me, like seeing a team like that, something a bit fresh, something more exciting. I think that would be really good for the Premier League and the look it gives for our league. So just seeing Leeds and Burnley back only screams to me that they could instantly get relegated, which we've seen this season with Southampton and Leicester. So even though these are big names in English football, I just think they haven't built the right infrastructure to obviously stay up. They've now been relegated, and I just sometimes see the same kind of vibe that I get at Leeds and Burnley. But give credit to Scott Parker. I think he's had a lot on his plate, especially when he was in the Premier League with Bournemouth. Didn't work out. He's now kind of taken time off, and he's come back at Burnley, and he's got them promoted. So you're kind of rooting for someone like him, who was, if people watch football, they know that Scott Parker is an underrated, Barclaysman baller. So, I had to put that in there for Wes. But I think that is something to look forward to next season, see how maybe he could set up. I think Wes could probably talk more better about Leeds and what they have done. They have some bright young players in Donto and some more. But I think that final playoff spot is always the exciting bit about the Championship. You always wait to see who's going to be in that playoff final. I think it's good that Leeds and Burnley are back up, and we'll just have to wait and see for next season. But I am hoping, Holly, I'm just hoping that once you get up, you stay up. But I just get the vibe. And Fulham were once that team where they just kept going up and down. I was really frustrated with Fulham, but they've now found stability. So I'm hoping Leeds and Burnley hopefully do the same thing.
I think that's the thing, because I think it is getting harder, Wes. The level between the Championship and the Premier League is so massive now.
Yeah, it's getting bigger and bigger every year, you know, the gap from Premier League to Championship. But I think, you know, as Nelson said, the job that Scott Parker walked into at Burnley and the job he's actually done has been nothing short of phenomenal. Like, I think it came out on Monday night. He lost 25 players in the summer. That's a squad in itself. And a lot of those players left in the last week. I think 6 or 8 went out in the last week of the window.
Wow.
So to try and replace that with quality is going to be difficult. But then players who understand the Championship, and I think that's another thing as well. But I think he's been quite clever and smart in his recruitment. Obviously, brought Marcus Edwards in, someone that he knows from Tottenham, in January, and he's been brilliant for Burnley. James Trafford has been absolutely phenomenal this season. I was really critical of him last year because I didn't think he was a Premier League goalkeeper. I think now he's better equipped to take that step into the Premier League, given his season this season. And obviously, there's big teams sort of sniffing. I know, like Newcastle in particular, have been sniffing for a long time with Trafford. I think Leeds, this was a big season for Leeds because if they didn't go up, I think they would have been in some serious trouble. And I think Daniel Farker is a very, very good manager to get you out of the Championship. I know there's rumours that he might get the sack, but I think that's because of his Premier League record. Like, it's not the greatest, and I think we saw that obviously with his time at Norwich. But obviously they've had Solomon, they've had, as Nelson mentioned earlier, Wilfred Gnonto, Joel Pirro. They've got a very good sort of Championship squad. It's now the task, I think, for the Championship clubs coming up. Don't recruit, 12, 15 players. Like, be smart, be clever, get your 3, 4, like, keep that core that got you up and almost give that core a little bit of a chance. And I think that's where Leicester in particular have fallen, because I don't think they added the quality. They tried to add some additions, but they just weren't good enough. I think Southampton went ballistic. I think so did Ipswich as well. But I think Ipswich needed to, because they had quite a few loan players. I think the benefit of these two coming up is the lack of loan players. I think Burnley have only got a few. Leeds haven't got many. So, it's going to be a good core of players that were there and stuff like that. So they've got good solid foundations, I think, to build on. And I think people actually sometimes underestimate how big of a football club Leeds United are. Like, they're a massive, like, institution within English football. So it's good to see them back in the Prem. I'm buzzing that Burnley are back because it's my favourite away day. And obviously me and Nelson have got some ties to Burnley as well through university. So pleased that they're back. I can't call the playoffs. It's a really difficult one. Obviously, you've got Sheffield United in there. Wilder kind of knows how to get the job done. You've got Sunderland, who've got a bright young team. Bristol City, the job Liam Manning's done to get them out of 12th, like they do every year, is brilliant. And then you've got Hove, who just seem to be stuttering over the line at the minute. But again, Lampard's got that experience that he had with Derby in the playoffs, so that might count for something. So you can make a case, I think, for any of the teams sort of in and around that playoff picture at the moment in the Championship. And I think, equally the relegation scrap is equally as exciting as well in the Championship at the moment. And I think that's why a lot of people love it.
100%. Like I say, it's going to be good as well next season because Southampton have gone down and Portsmouth are staying in the Championship. Yeah. So it was going to be an exciting time on the South Coast next season. But obviously that kind of moves on, because obviously we've spoken a little bit about players that potentially those Championship sides coming up might need. But let's talk about maybe our own clubs in this one, Nelson, because transfer season is coming up very, very soon. So if you're Arteta, who would you want to go and get to kind of bolster up Arsenal's kind of squad?
Oh my gosh, if I have to point this way, like, go up to the northeast and grab that number 14. That's all I need to say. Like,
he's doing that to Arteta, mate.
he is probably doing that. Like, just get a load of this guy, like, trying to bring me over to South London, North London to be exact. I don't even know my own club, but we are obviously South London based and born, as Wes always points out. But I think in terms of Arsenal, I think they need another striker. I think not another striker. They need a striker, as in someone who's the main guy, someone who will get you your 25 plus goals. And I only say 25 plus because Haaland is a freak, and what he did that first season at City to get that many goals, I think the way City are set up, you're always going to create chances. And we do create chances at Arsenal. I just don't think we've had that person to put the ball away. And I've noticed, I saw a really weird stat in the sense of, everyone's goals and assists this season. And I think Arteta, unfortunately, I don't think he will get Isak. And I don't think he'll get Gyökeres. Even though we've brought in a new sporting director, I just think Arteta is stubborn in wanting to share the load of goals and assists between players. It's something he said in his post-match conferences. He said he loves the fact that the team kind of share responsibility, and that kind of, for him, that brings more cohesion. I disagree. I think you got to get that baller, that striker who can bag that 30, and will get. Pep didn't complain, and it got him the treble. So, I just feel like you need to do that. And Isak, for me, would be my number one target. Gyökeres, I think, would be number two. And then it's really hard to kind of see other strikers that you could get. I mean, strikers are hard to get nowadays. If I were to buy someone in the league, apart from Isak, I would go as far as getting Jean-Philippe Mateta. It's a mad one to say, but I think the fact that we create chances, I think if you were to give him something like a platform to step up from, who knows what it could do. That's just a wild card from me. But the main, I think, target is Isak. In midfield, Thomas Partey could leave. Even though I think for me he has been Arsenal's best midfielder alongside Declan Rice this season, a lot of people won't give him the credit, but I think for me he has been very important, for the rebuild that Arteta has done since he's come into the job. Defense, I think we're very solid. We just have a lot of players that are injured or haven't really played a lot of games simply because they haven't, been consistent in staying available. Calafiori is one of them. Zinchenko, I think, is just great for squad depth. I think that's what Arteta will look to do, buy a proven striker and then look to probably increase the squad depth because you've got young players coming through. The fact that Calafiori is coming for big money, but Miles Lewis-Skelly could keep him out of the squad is a testament to the kid's talent and what could happen, for him in the future. He applies his trade as a midfielder. That could work out for him. He could actually be the new number 8 for us. But I'm excited, Holly. But look, just go to the northeast, get the man number 14, so then we can create a new history for that famous number at the club. So those are my thoughts. Come back to me maybe in July, and I'll probably say more. But that's coming off the top of my head right now.
I was going to say, that's probably a shorter shopping list than mine and Wes's, because Wes, who are you going out and buying this summer if you could?
Right, here we go. Hugo Larsson from Eintracht Frankfurt really, really impressed me when they played against us. It was more like he's physically quite imposing as a midfield player, which I think we need in that number 6 position. But his composure on the ball is something else. He's so calm. If it was down to, if I really want, we need a number 6 desperately. Obviously, we spoke, when was it, last January, and I said about some kid at Blackburn who has his socks down by his ankles in Adam Wharton for 18 million quid. And he's proved to be an absolute bargain. Now, Palace are going to want at least 50 upwards. But Adam Wharton would be perfect for Tottenham. The way he plays the game is so similar to probably one of the most underrated Tottenham players I think I've ever seen in Michael Carrick. Adam Wharton is the most similar profile of midfield player that I've seen to Michael Carrick. But yeah, definitely need a 6. We need some fullbacks. I don't think Chris Brown and Bryson Tiller are going to be our fullbacks, unfortunately. Or even Conor Benn and Chris Eubank Jr. I don't think they're gonna cut the mustard. I'm going to shock a lot of people here. I think we need a new goalkeeper. Because I'm done with Vicario. He's too erratic. He's too erratic, and he's too emotional. And if you look at the game itself, every goal kick, Vicario rushes to get the ball. Our team are trying to set themselves up. So our centre-backs split like most do now. Our full-backs try and get high, and our midfielders are trying to find their positions. By the time this is all going on, Vicario's already played to the centre-backs. So it's not the issue of trying to play quickly that it is. It's the issue of we're not set to play. So if we're not set, don't play. And it then impacts the passes then that the defenders have, because everybody's got to shift and adjust, but nobody's ready. So yeah, I think a new goalkeeper. I mean, he was absolutely miles off it on Monday night. Vicario, he should have saved all three of Forest's goals. I know, like I said earlier, one was out for offside, but he should have saved all three. For me, or I don't know where he's going for Chris Wood's header. In particular, and the other two are right at him. Like, just stop the ball going in the back of the net, you pillock. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, I think a forward would be great. I'd like a winger as well. Obviously, I spoke on the Park Lane pod in the summer about my guy Wilson, and everybody's now seeing what he can do. Now go and get his mate from Burnley and Luca Koleosho, and have Koleosho and Odegaard on either wing, and we might actually be back. I would also take a punt on Tell, but I'm taking that chance on him as a left winger, as a number 11. We saw how good he was on Monday night. He was probably Tottenham's best player and Tottenham's most effective player. He can't play as a 9, so play him as a left winger and a number 11. And I think you'll see the best of Matthias Tell in that sense. I think for Spurs, again, it's another summer of, it's probably more important to get players out than get players in. But yeah, Hugo Larsson or Adam Wharton would be great. Some fullbacks and then maybe a forward as well. But I think a lot will depend on who goes as to who comes in, to be fair, at Tottenham.
Yeah, and I think the thing is with Vicario as well, there was when he was actually kicking the ball long at times, I was actually like, oh my god, we can actually play the ball long. But then most of the time it went out of play. And it's a bit like, this is not great.
Yeah, honestly, the geezer's distribution, I'm glad he's not working for Royal Mail, because no one would get anything delivered to him, to be honest. Mate, honestly, Kinski with the ball at his feet is but he is literally like another player. And I do feel really, really sorry for him, Kinski, because when he came in, he was brilliant. And I literally said after the Liverpool game in the Carabao Cup semi-final where he got thrust in, I was like, yeah, I'm having him. 100% having him. So yeah, I do feel a bit sorry for him. And yeah, I think he's a better goalkeeper, like rounded package. I think he's a lot better than Vicario.
No, it's fair enough. I think this season's just been an absolute whirlwind of a mess. And it'll be interesting to see what kind of happens in the summer, because like I say, we have a very long shopping list. But talking about obviously players, etc., it's your guys' favourite time of the week, my least favourite time, and that is because it is our FPL, if I get the right screen up. There we go. Our FPL time, because we've obviously missed a couple of weeks. So we've got obviously 2 weeks of time to kind of dissect and go through. Now, I think this is Wes's team. It is from last week. So Wes, I'm going to let you fire away. 79 big boy points, man.
Yeah, look at it. It's beautiful, right? The bench boost chip came in really, really handy for me on that one. I thought I would play it. I mean, I haven't got many game weeks left to play all of my chips, so I thought I better use one. And I thought, let me try the bench boost. So yeah, went for it. Obviously had a cracking week with Isak on the bench boost. João Pedro actually decided to turn up. Salah was captain and got me some decent points. But then also I think my defence, Kirkes and Huijsen got good numbers for me as well. So yeah, I was really, really happy and really pleased with that one. So I'm absolutely buzzing. Although Arteta, start playing Saka a little bit more and let him finish a game and then let him go and do his thing. You can't wrap him up in cotton wool for Europe, because I need him to start bloody performing for my FPL team.
Oh, I've had a really good week that week. And then we'll jump obviously to Nelson's, because this was Nelson's that week as well. Not too far behind Wes Nelson, so I'll let you far away.
Yeah, it was not a bad week. I mean, I am on the same level as Wes when he spoke about, Arteta not playing Saka. And I think, as an Arsenal fan, I can't complain now because we're through to the semi-finals. So I think he did the right job. Jacob Murphy. Look, I want to point out Jacob Murphy. Jacob Murphy is an underrated baller, and I think he is third in goals and assists for Newcastle this season. I think he's had a very good season. So for anybody wanting to get any Newcastle talent, for me, I can't lie, Isak, for me, I wouldn't say he's always Isak. But I think Harvey Barnes and Jacob Murphy are the two Newcastle assets that you might want to buy, because they are very good. Livramento as well, I think just kind of pile up on Newcastle. I was focusing, I think, game week 32 on Newcastle and Palace players, because they both had 2 games. and it got me those points. So I'm very happy. But as you can see, ain't Nori on my bench is not very nice. It's not very kind, and also had Kirkers as well. So not too bad. But where's my voice is kind of gone now? It's kind of
Yeah.
gone out of nowhere. But yeah, I think it was a okay week, and I'm still top of the majority of my leagues.
I was going to say sourcing at the top. But obviously this week, Wes, how's it looking for you?
I don't know because I think my screen is frozen on my last week's one, so I'll pull up my
Oh
screenshot
yeah, get it up.
on my phone. Yeah, 45 points is what I got in FPL. So yeah, Kirkes and Hoyson and Saliba again doing some bits for me defensively. Yeah, it's my attackers that have let me down. João Pedro getting sent off. Yeah, cheers, mate. So yeah, and I think my midfielders haven't really performed. Like Salah was quiet, Asensio and Rogers quiet. Eze awful. Saka, I mean, turned up for a little bit and made a nice little appearance and then dipped before anybody noticed. I think I might need to take Marmoush out. He's not really performing for me, unfortunately. So I may need to go back to the drawing board on that one. Maybe put Isak back in the team or look for. Maybe Chris Wood. Maybe it's time to bring Woody back. I don't know. So yeah, I mean Nelson saying yeah, go for it. So I might have to.
Interesting. And then Nelson, here's your one at the minute as well. I know that obviously Arsenal Palace are playing, which is probably why you've
Yep.
got those boys in.
Yeah, I've got those boys in. It's a bit annoying because you focus on people that have double game weeks, but when they play against each other, it's the worst feeling because Muno's got me a clean sheet, against Bournemouth, but then you're hoping that he'd also get a clean sheet. But now that Palace have conceded and Arsenal 1-0 up, that, screws me over. Eze, if he bags a goal, then it's great, but then Raya doesn't get a clean sheet. Like, it just doesn't work out. Like, it's just very frustrating these last few weeks in FPL. And I'm very happy with Rodgers because I brought Rodgers in to replace Murphy. I'm happy that Rodgers did well. But Kirkes just keeps being the unlucky guy for me. He's on the bench with 8 points. I didn't think he was going to get something against Crystal Palace, but he has. So I agree with Wes because when I made my wild card squad, the fact that Haaland was out, everybody rushed to get Marmoush. But it just seems as though he's not performed. I think in terms of Man City assets from an attacking perspective, it isn't really looking good unless you don't have Haaland. And obviously Haaland costs a lot of money. So that's the reason why probably a lot of people have kind of balanced their squad around an Isak, around Salah and around Saka really, or Cole Palmer as well, who's also another shout this season that's, been really good. So it is frustrating, Holly, but this week is going to be an unlucky week for me. I think I'm not going to get as many points as I am, but I still have my free hit, which me and Wes are planning to hopefully use at some point next week, because next week is obviously the FA Cup semi-finals, so that's going to affect a lot of squads. So I say use your free hit, guys, and try and get some good players out there, especially those who are playing probably Southampton, obviously your Leicester and your Ipswich.
I was going to say, there's no point even bringing mine up because, it's
No.
every week. No, it is, man.
Do it.
I don't think I put it on the screens, for this exact reason. I don't think I have. But you guys even knew my points before I even did, so that kind of just sums it all up. But I promise...
She got 50, guys. She got more than 50. We
Well,
celebrate that.
We've got to celebrate something. But no, like I say, I think next year I will actually try. I say this, I probably won't, but I'll put a reminder in my calendar to try and do it every week. But like I said, if you need some FPL, make sure you kind of go back, pause this bit and rewatch it, because Wes and Nelson, I mean, Nelson is the sorcerer and Wes is the apprentice, now become the sorcerer, I think, at some point. But no, like I say, it's been a really good fun show tonight. We've covered a lot again. Within 40 minutes, bosh. But we'll go around, say our goodbyes. So Nelson, thank you once again for coming on. It's been a good chat. Where can everybody find you doing your thing?
Thank you, Holly. It's been another great episode. You guys can find me on Instagram at nnatumba, so that's N and then my last name Natumba25 on Instagram.
Bosh, there we go. And Wes, like I always do, save this bit to last. Go and do your thing. Where can everybody find you?
Yeah, so Twitter's at Wezo10, the unofficial Moussa Dembele fan account. Usually saying things about the best Belgium to ever grace Premier League shores. Dele Alli's GOAT as well, so there you go, says it all. And then Instagram's at Wezo32. Obviously I was at the game on Monday, usually at a Spurs home game, although given our schedule and the fact that things have been moved about, I don't think I'm going to be at many home games now, unfortunately. I think my last one could be the last home game of the season, because I've got to work and get some money in, like most people. So that's Instagram's at Wezo32, and then for anything football coaching related, it's Kickoff Football Academy or Kofa MK across all your socials. So that's your Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, a lot. So go and find me somewhere. And then I'm usually on Park Lane Pod on a Sunday, as well at 7:00, talking everything Spurs. But make sure people are liking, subscribing, commenting, doing all the good stuff. And that's it from me.
Bosh, lovely, jubbly. Like I say, obviously, Holly Soxer's lovely to be back on Monday to obviously dissect the Liverpool game. I feel that's going to be a fun one to do. And then hopefully, if we're all back in town, the Hotspur Huddle will be back on Wednesday night to do the same thing once again. We'll probably have loads more to talk about. Like we always say, until next time, see you soon and come on, you Spurs. Oi.